started. So welcome everyone to our virtual event on finding your best fit college. So this is kicking off our third event of our virtual series. As you have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to use the Q&A feature via Zoom to ask any questions that you have. And we'll also leave some time at the very end to answer any of those questions out loud, but we have someone behind the scenes helping out with answering the questions throughout the presentation via Q&A. So before we begin, I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Vanessa Chavez. I'm one of the admissions counselors for the University of Northern Colorado. And I'm also a recent UNC alumni. I majored in biology, so able to speak a bit on the admissions side and student perspective to things. This will be our agenda for today. So our main topic here is finding your best fit college. So what I did is I pulled out just some important topics of the college search process. And my goal is to dive into these different topics with y'all in our session today. So one of those would be academics. And then our second group is cost and financial aid. Third, location, size, and student life. After we spent some time covering those, we will go over some tips in building your college list. So finding a list of schools that fit right for you and how you can go about doing so. And then last but not least, a big action item to all this is the application process. So we'll go over together what that looks like as a whole and what that looks like for UNC as well. So at the beginning of each group, we'll spend some time talking about some questions to consider. So some questions to consider overall in regards to academics. As you start the college search process, one really important topic that you'll find is figuring out the program that's right for you or the program that you're interested in. So I think one question that comes to mind is, does the institution offer the program you'd like to study? And what type of level degree does the school offer? So what I mean by that is, do they offer associate's degrees that are typically 2 years, or a bachelor's degree where you're going for an average of 4 years? And so asking those questions ahead of time to making sure you're finding the best fit college. Another one would be, what type of degree exploration resources are available? So some students start the college search process and are not sure what program they'd like to pursue, and that's completely fine. So just figuring out what support you'll receive from different schools if that's where you're at as a student. Other questions to consider is, what is the average class size? What are you looking at with student to faculty ratio? And different resources available to you as you pursue your degree and work on completing it. Keep in mind, I'll have a few more questions to consider slides that there's no right or wrong answer to any of these. Really, it's figuring out what works best for you and what are some of your preferences within these questions. So as we talk about academics, I'd like to spend some time talking about what that looks like at UNC specifically. So as far as our programs go, UNC offers over 100 undergraduate programs, and our programs fall under each of these academic colleges. So the academic colleges have their specific advising centers, faculty and staff members that support students throughout their journey. Some examples of that: we have nursing that will fall under natural and health sciences. The theater program will fall under performing visual arts. Marketing is under Montfort College of Business. And as a student, if you're interested in maybe becoming a doctor one day or exploring the world of the health sciences, we are planning on opening a College of Osteopathic Medicine school as early as fall 2025. So that's something that we're really excited for. So a little academic side, we talked about a couple questions as far as what class size are you interested in, or what's the student to faculty ratio. And for UNC, we have an average class size of 25 students and a 14-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So a lot of opportunity to get to know your professor and get to know other students in the classroom. Aside from the size of the class, it is either highly recommended or required for a student to pursue an internship, clinicals, research, something that's a little bit more specialized in what the student is interested in studying, or you get a little bit of everything. And a good example of that is clinical rotations for nursing. Another great resource as you go through the process is looking into our UNC Honors Program. So you're able to be a part of a cohort of students that will support you during your time at UNC. And so that's a little bit about the education and the size of our classroom. We're going to now spend some time talking about our academic resources and what we offer for students. So this is a really good list of what is offered. Some of the ones I'll highlight today are our tutoring center and our writing center. So our tutoring center is peer-led. A student who's taken the class before, received an 87% or higher would be the one tutoring you. And then writing center is a great resource and office to stop by if you need support on any paper from any subject. And so I see a lot of students that'll take their papers there to get support on citations, because citations can vary from subject to subject. So that's a little bit of academics at UNC. We are now going to just transition into costs and financial aid. Again, overall, just some questions to consider, and then we'll dive into what these answers look like at UNC. One of those being, what is the breakdown of tuition and fees? So as you're comparing colleges, this is something important to keep in mind. And knowing that housing and dining are included in those numbers for most schools. Schools are required to have a net price calculator, so asking other institutions where that is located, so you're able to go in and find a solid estimate of what you'll be expecting for cost. Other questions to ask are what merit-based scholarships are available to students, and does the school offer a general scholarship application that you can access? So other potential opportunities to help with the cost of attendance. Last but not least is, will you be filling out the FAFSA or CASFA? So connecting with the Office of Financial Aid at institutions to see what resources are available, to maybe meet with a financial aid counselor to talk about what your offer looks like or how to even start the application. So schools are available to work with you on those different things. And so we'll transition into what that looks like at UNC. As for our tuition and fees and our merit-based scholarships, this map is going to be really important when we're looking at those different topics. This is our residency classification map. And so we have 3 different categories that we're working with. First, our Western undergraduate exchange states, so any of those dark blue states. We have yellow, which is our in-state states, and our gray, which is the non-resident international. So why that's really important is when we're breaking down tuition and fees, and what you're seeing here is based off the upcoming academic year. So we'll really give you a good idea of what to expect. But we'll have our 3 categories at the top for our tuition categories. And these are based off 15 credits per semester. It's around the average amount of credits that we recommend taking. Below, you'll see an estimate for on-campus housing and meal plans. So that is based off of Tier 3 housing and 19 meals per week. What that means is they are 2 of around the middle options for housing and meals. Below, we have fees, which is based on student resources. Our tutoring center, the rec center, our cultural centers are all funded with student fees. And so these aren't fees that students can opt out of. Fees that some students will choose to opt out of are the UNC health insurance or parking pass. And then we're working with our totals at the bottom. So I recognize that these are large numbers. So we want to spend some time talking about our scholarship opportunities and what FAFSA and CASFA mean. For UNC, our first year admission-based scholarships are outlined on this graph or this map. And so we'll have the 3 categories again that will be really important. And so if you're coming in with a 3.0 to a 4.0 plus cumulative weighted GPA, the time you're applying, then you would be awarded one of these scholarships. And so we are able to evaluate that information once we receive your transcript. And so what you are seeing in the yellow is what a student would receive for the academic year. So for fall and spring in total. And then a student would receive this amount consistently for up to 4 years. And so students' application to UNC is their application to these merit-based scholarships. So we're able to, again, evaluate a transcript to see if a student would be awarded one of these. Other scholarship opportunities that UNC offers, we have our UNC Foundation Scholarship Application. So this is where students can go in and complete a general application, and that'll filter and show them what they're eligible for based on our full list of scholarships. Sometimes you'll need to go in and complete some additional questions just based on the scholarship that you're applying for. This is a great opportunity that students can apply for each year. It opens in November 1st and has a February 1st priority deadline. And then transitioning into financial aid. So FAFSA and CASFA is where you'll see your eligibility for grants, loans, and work study. And whether it's UNC or another institution you're applying for, you want to make sure that the schools are able to release an offer and that you add the school that you are interested in on your FAFSA. And so year to year, this will start opening in sometime in December and have a March 1st priority deadline. December is a new date as of this year. And so just keep an eye out for updates from financial aid for specific times and information. If you have gone through school yourself or have had another student go through the system, then you'll know that it used to be October. So December 1st is new, and this will be for starting for the 2024-2025 academic year. So we spent some time talking about costs and financial aid, just questions to consider overall and what that looks like at UNC. Now we're going to spend some time talking about location, size, and student life. So some questions to consider around these topics. A big one would be around the size of the town or city that the school is located in, or what amenities are available for students. So some questions to think about is as far as what you prefer. Do you like the small town vibe? Would you like to be in a bigger city? Another one would be if you are planning on maybe only applying to in-state schools, are you open to applying out-of-state schools or even schools located internationally? So having those conversations. Looking into the size of the school, your preferences on size, and along with how diverse the student population is, what resources are available, how students can get involved, whether it is through a club or through a sport or through a performance. And I'm also going to spend some time talking about housing and dining, but just keeping that in mind as well as far as what options are available to students for housing and dining. So what that looks like at UNC, first would like to start with talking a little bit about the town. And so Greeley, Colorado has a population around 110,000. It is a fast growing city, but has a very small town vibe to it. So lots of big city amenities, and it's number one in Colorado as far as the growth. And I think UNC has a lot to do with that, along with the affordability in Greeley compared to some neighboring Colorado cities. Greeley does a really good job putting on events throughout the year. Some events that have been hosted are art showcases, the farmers market. Friday Fest is a big one that you'll see in this picture. Friday Fest goes on from the summer to early fall. This street gets shut down in the downtown Greeley area, and the community gets together in the evening to enjoy the warm weather, enjoy some live music. The restaurants do a good job having some booths right outside their buildings as well. And so that's a little bit about Greeley, where we're at with our community at UNC. As far as size, is we have about 9,000 plus students. That does include the graduate student population. And below that number, you'll see a bit about the diversity on our campus. And so we have 42% of our students where their parents or legal guardians didn't graduate with their four-year degree. So that's what we mean by first generation. We have 25.5% of students that identify as Hispanic Latinx and 37% of students of color. We do have a larger percentage of Colorado residents, but we have also represented all 50 states. And lastly, we have represented 46 countries. So these are some numbers just making up our UNC community as a whole. Transitioning into campus housing, and then we'll spend some time talking about dining at UNC. At UNC, we have 17 residence halls, and so they work in a tier 1 to 4 system, and all students are able to apply to any of the 17 halls. So coming in as a first-year student, you're not restricted to only applying to 1 or 2. So I think that's something really nice about UNC. Along with the tiers, we also have different learning communities. So depending on what you're interested in, there are certain floors in residence halls where you could live near other students who are in a similar program, who have a similar interest or are in the same major. And one of the really popular ones is our pet friendly. We have Lawrence Hall being one of the residence halls that offer pet friendly living. So students can apply to bring a cat or dog, 40 pounds or less to live with them. And for any first year students in our virtual space, typically there is an on-campus living requirement, and you'll see that with a lot of four-year schools. That's another really good question to ask as you start this process. After that first year, you are more than welcome to keep living on campus, or you can also choose to live off campus. Those are some highlights for campus housing at UNC. And now we're going to spend time talking about campus dining. So for students, they have a handful of different options on campus. One of the more popular ones is our Holmes Dining Hall. That is buffet style, and that is also the one that has a Starbucks located inside. Aside from that dining hall, we also have our University Center, where a lot more options are centralized on campus. And we have a burger bar, we have a sandwich shop, so Subway, we have a Latin restaurant, and a handful of other stops. And so with your meal plan, you will have a set amount of swipes for the year, but you also can use dining dollars and meal exchanges to utilize your plan at some of the retail locations that I mentioned. And then depending on where you're at on campus, we're introducing some mobile food trucks, so you can potentially grab a bite to eat between classes as well. For student life, we have over 100 plus student-led organizations on campus, ranging from Greek life to academic to spiritual. Also opportunities to start up your own club, so we have some processes in place for students to do that. And as a student, if you're interested in playing a certain instrument or auditioning for performance, we have over 300 plus annual performances that students could be a part of. And then also different levels for sports. So we have 17 NCAA Division I sports. And as a student, you can attend any of the home games for free if you bring your student ID. Some highlights from our D1 teams: we had a wrestler that won a national championship not too long ago, and our softball team also won the Big Sky Conference. So that was really exciting for our community. And then different ways to get involved. So we have club sports where you could sign up through the coaches, or intramural sports, which is typically through the campus rec center. So it's a little bit about our student life. As far as just resources that are available for students throughout their time, talked about academic resources, but we also have some social and wellness resources. So for the social, we do celebrate the diversity and the range of identities that students hold. And so these cultural and resource centers do a really good job supporting students throughout their time at UNC. And then some examples for wellness resources: we have the Campus Rec Center that has an indoor climbing wall area and an indoor pool. Disability Resource Center, if you need any accommodations for the classroom or for housing, they're the office that you'll connect with for next steps. So spend some time talking about location size and social fit, student life overall. Now we'll spend some time talking about building your list. So after you have, once you have started the college search process, some tips on how you can go about building your list. Two ways that I want to start out with is going and attending college fairs or attending college visits. So the difference between these is college fairs is typically multiple schools will be a part of this, and you'll be able to walk usually in a local building or a gym and stop by different tables to get to know the college representatives, get to know the schools. College visits, typically you'll have one college representative that'll visit your school, and you'll be able to sit in on their session or visit them at the post-grad center. And so those are two main ones as far as how to learn more about different schools. Another would be talking to your family, talking to support people. Some conversations that could come up is around the FAFSA, around the CASFA, around whether out of state or in-state works best for you as a student, and just fully understanding the type of support that you'll be receiving as you start this process. Another big one is seeking support from high school counselors or postgraduate coordinators. And so they are a great point of contact to begin this process. And college representatives really do work hand in hand with these folks as well. Exploring online resources is another tip. A lot of high schools will use Naviance, Family Connection. That's one way some schools can schedule visits with college representatives, and you're able to sign up for a visit right away. College websites is a great way to learn about the application process or sign up for visits. College Board is great if you are maybe taking an AP or an IB test, and that's how you're able to log in and send schools your score. Zeme is a great online platform. I recommend downloading this on your phone. It's an application where you're able to meet other students who are attending an institution, or you can potentially meet a future friend, a future roommate. And so recommend downloading that ahead of time just to get used to the application. Couple other big tips would be finding your admissions counselor, and just depending on the school, just contacting the admissions office overall to start the process of getting to know the school and starting the application process. If you're interested in figuring out who the counselor is at UNC, feel free to use the QR code on this page, and it will take you to our website where you'll answer some questions and be able to figure out who your counselor is. Another big one is visiting the campuses. So once you're on campus, that could give you a really great idea of whether or not you see yourself attending that institution. And so a lot of schools will have a way to sign up for a visit online, or you need to call them to make an appointment as well. But we have a way to make a visit, schedule a visit online. And so UNCL Visits will take you to that page. And so typically we host visits Monday through Saturday. We have some different times set aside for campus tours. And last but not least, I want to highlight the application process. And I want to jump back to the idea behind questions to consider. So for the application process, just overall for any school you're looking at, just I set aside some questions that I think that are important to think about as you start. So one of them being, what platform can you use to apply to the school? Is there an application fee or a waiver code that you could potentially use? If anyone in the virtual space is from Colorado specifically, our state will usually host Colorado Free App Week. That's around the mid of October. So that's something to keep an eye out for. What are the requirements for transcripts? So do you need to have an official and unofficial? What does that mean? So official usually means that that's coming directly from the high school or the institution to the school you're applying to. Unofficial means that that is can come from you as a student to us. Are there supplemental materials that are required? Are there optional materials? So that is personal essay, test scores, letters of recommendation. And when does the application process open? And what are some important other deadlines to keep in mind? So I think deadlines are important as you start this. So keeping an eye out for those and making note of those as well. So for becoming a bear specifically for UNC as far as first year applicants go, there's a couple different ways you can go about it with us. So you can either apply directly through our website or through the Common Application. Common App is great if you're applying to multiple schools. They both work really similarly, so we don't really have a preference on the one you submit. But they also both have a $50 application fee, or you can choose to submit a fee waiver request. We cannot review your application until we receive your high school transcript. So you'll want to make sure that you work with your schools to receive those documents or to have them send those to us. For our optional materials, we recommend with the personal essay, we have some prompts that you are able to choose from the Bear app and Common App. Letters of rec, we recommend around 1 to 2, typically from a high school counselor, a teacher, a manager. And then test scores could be a really great study opportunity. But if you choose to submit the optional materials, it really does give us an opportunity to get to know you as a student outside of just your GPA. So it's a little bit of becoming a bear, and then our timeline for this. Anyone in the virtual space that is going into their senior year, so if you're interested in applying for the fall 2024 application, that does open August 1st. So that's next week. That is the earliest that you can start the process. Generally speaking, for our applications, that'll open 1 year prior to the start term that you're interested in. And then we have some deadlines in place just to give you an idea of the latest to apply by as well. But if you're interested in learning more about how to apply in the process, feel free to register for our next virtual session. That'll be next Tuesday, August 1st at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And so you can use this QR code to register for the event as well. And that is what I have for you, a bit about finding your best fit college and some different topics and categories to keep in mind. I want to leave some space for any questions and see if there are any in the Q&A that we haven't gotten to.
That was some fantastic information. Thank you, Vanessa. At this point, we do not have any questions in the chat, but if students have any, please feel free to add those.
thank you, Brianna. We'll give folks a second just to be able to add any questions. We're happy to address any of those at this time. And if you don't have any questions, we do hope to see you at our next virtual session or on campus for one of our tours, but feel free to reach out to us and let us know how we can help. And thank you for attending today. So it looks like we did get a question. One of those being, is the fees shared per semester or per year? And so for the tuition and fees, those numbers are showing you based off the year. Great question.
Another question that has come through, Vanessa, is what kind of animals are allowed and are there any restrictions?
Yeah, so cat or dogs are allowed. Those are the two big ones. And then the main restriction is the cat or dog needs to be 40 pounds or less. And so there's some additional steps in an application process to be able to go that route. And so that's through our housing office. So if you are interested in that, let us know, and we're happy to connect you with some of those next steps. Great question.
Vanessa, what is a BEAR application?
Yeah, a BEAR application is how you're able to apply just directly through our website. That'd be UNCO apply. And so we call our application portal a BEAR application. And so it'll turn into your main application portal. And then once you're admitted, it'll turn into admitted student portal. So it'll be the main area that you'll be logging into to see your admissions decision and next steps. But the BEAR application would equate to, if you looked up UNCO apply, that'd be the same thing. Great question. Feel free to keep sending those questions in the Q&A. It looks like we do still have some folks in the session. So I also wanted to go back to the slide if you are interested in registering for our next virtual session on how to apply. I want to provide that QR code for a little bit longer.
Follow-up question, what colleges participate in the Common App?
Yeah, great question. There are a whole list of them. So my biggest recommendation is to check with the institution. A lot of the Colorado public schools will participate in the Common App, but that is a great question to ask when you're starting the application process with the school that you are interested in. And so how the Common App is set up too, is you're able to go in and do a general application and then go in and answer some of the supplemental questions. And so you're not having to go in and submit the same application time after time. You can go in and send a general one to all schools that are Common App schools and then answer those supplemental questions. But the Common App also does a good job highlighting the schools that are involved with them as well. Great question. Feel free to keep those questions coming in the Q&A. Happy to answer and happy to support. Alrighty, y'all. Gonna go ahead and end the session. I hope everyone has a great day.